My daughter's name might ring a bell with you. Her name is Sabina Rose.
Go ahead.
December 2nd, you made a speech about you won't expand the medical marijuana program. In the very hour you did that, I took my baby off a ventilator. She died from Dravet syndrome. She had a 24-hour seizure. This is what happens when you don't get the proper medical marijuana program installed in the state. I did a lot of my own research with my husband. We've talked to dispensary owners. We know what works and what doesn't. We knew my daughter, we started the process of getting her medical marijuana card in August. She still didn't have it in November because of all the roadblocks. I put her to bed one night and she never woke up. I deserve an hour of your time one-on-one.
Well, an hour of my time one-on-one would do... An hour, listen, if I thought that giving you an hour of my time one-on-one would solve this problem all by itself, I'd give it to you.
Arresting patients! Stop arresting patients! Stop arresting patients!
Welcome to CMMNJ TV.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
I'm Ken Walski, Executive Director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey. The mission of our organization is to educate the public about the benefits of marijuana. Marijuana is a safe, effective, and inexpensive therapeutic agent for a wide variety of diseases, symptoms, and conditions. No patient should suffer needlessly without it, and no patient should ever go to jail for following the advice of a doctor. Join us and learn more about the exciting science of medical marijuana. I'm Ken Walski, Executive Director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey. We're here in the Princeton Community TV studios with Phil Joanna, the father of a daughter who struggled with Dravet syndrome. And we're here today to talk about the parents of children who have medical marijuana, who qualify for medical marijuana in New Jersey. And so thank you so much for coming here today, Phil.
Thanks for having me.
Please tell us a little bit about Sabina.
Sabina was born August 21st, 2012, and perfect baby, and she was progressing normally as far as any baby is concerned, I would have to assume. And about 6 months at 6 months old, she had her first seizure, and just prior to that, probably, and just before Christmas, she had like a little bit of like a tick in her leg, and we didn't know it was a seizure at that point, but hindsight is perfect, and we realized like that was the beginning of Dravet and another whatever form of epilepsy it was, beginning to show itself. And so she had her first, tonic-clonic seizure at 6 months old, and then she had seizures every couple of weeks after that. And then once we got on meds, as far as pharmaceuticals go, they started to subside. They looked like to be controlled, and then we went for testing and like EEGs and MRIs and CAT scans and all these things. And
let me just stop you there. That when you say tonic-clonic seizures, my understanding is that these are the full-body seizures that are both characterized by rigidity and then relaxation and rigidity and relaxation.
Yeah, complete. It's a complete convulsion. Like you said, contraction and relaxation of all the muscles in your body in a rhythmic fashion. So.
And her whole body was involved in these?
Yeah, not in the beginning. In the beginning, like just before Christmas, when she was 4 months old. About like it was just her one leg doing it, and then I guess a few weeks after that, it was just her one side, just one of just her left side, and then later on, and I think it was February 6th, her first like full-bodied seizure came too. So.
And so you took her to a neurologist?
Well, yeah, we took her to the ER. You know, that was like, oh, you know, it's just a fluke. You know, these things happen all the time. You know, and then, you know, the second and third went in. They're like, well, okay, well, maybe we need to look at this. And we went. They recommended a neurologist out of Morristown Memorial Hospital and the Goriab Children's Hospital. So her name was Dr. Mahalingam. It's a full mouth of letters, but she was a great neurologist. But she didn't believe in medical marijuana because it was not mainstream. It wasn't standard of care. Standard of care was, you know, phenobarbital, Keppra, Topamax. That was standard of care. Those are the lists. I mean, they have go-to lists that, as far as pharmaceuticals go, to put kids on for seizures or epilepsy or whatever kind of seizure types you have. So those are the routes that we went.
You went through the standard anticonvulsant medications
Right.
that you described. And well, even in New Jersey, even though seizures qualify for medical marijuana in New Jersey, they do not qualify as the first line of treatment. You know, the patient has to be resistant to the standard medications.
Right.
So,
Right.
But you proved that your daughter was in fact resistant to these standard medical treatments.
As far as proving, like, when we were trying to get her card, I mean, when I watched Weed 1 and you know, and heard of Charlotte Figge and Paige Figge and all them, and Jason David out in California, and I've heard of all them, and I showed my wife. I'm like, this is something we need to look at, you know, and because it's working for them, like there's no reason it can't work for her, and we need to like find out if Dr. Mahalingam is not on board. We need to switch neurologists, and we eventually did that, and then we started talking to Dr. His name escapes me. Davinsky, Dr. Oren Davinsky, out in he has an office at St. Barnabas in Livingston, and so we started seeing him, and he said like, oh, her seizure, she doesn't have that bad. It's not that serious or whatever the term is. A mild case. She's a mild case. So you know, but we still wanted to look because she still had seizures. She had about 100 atonics and myoclonics a day. You know, and atonic is where your whole body just loses muscle tone for a second. You know, and a myoclonic is a twitch. You know, and it's like a zap of electricity through her whole body, and so she would have, you know, about maybe let's say 150 of those combined a day and I'm not. That's not probably. They're probably more closer to 200, you know, and so we started to like look into the guidelines of what is the requirements, rather, for New Jersey to get a card for her, and it was, you know, we need to have 2 signing physicians saying that the next course of action is to try medical marijuana, and she's tried countless medications with countless in different cocktails, and you know, she's still failing, she's still resistant. And this is the next best thing. And so we got that. We had to speak to a psychiatrist or a psychologist or whatever and he had to determine whether we were upstanding parents and people that weren't going to exploit her card, which means smoke her medicine or use her medicine or sell her medicine. Meanwhile, we have phenobarbital and all these other, you know, at that point she was on Onfi, a barbiturate, you know, and but we didn't need to have a therapist tell us that we're upstanding citizens. Like I could have totally drank her medicine, her barbiturates and her benzos. I could have totally used those. So.
Yeah, I wondered what the purpose of having a psychiatrist interview a toddler, you know, an infant, really, essentially, less than 1 year old. Yeah. It doesn't seem to make sense to me. So at 206 has a special significance for you, Phil. Yeah. And so it's when you took your baby off the respirator. So we'll just have a moment of silence. A legislator said, well, then let's let's make marijuana available in those forms and in the types of marijuana that can help children. That's available in out of state. Let's bring
Right.
that to New Jersey. And Governor Christie was on a press conference at the time, and he said, well, he's done expanding the medical marijuana program, and he said that the only thing that the advocates really want is legalization of marijuana. And it was just at that time, at 2:06, when he was holding that press conference saying he was done expanding the medical marijuana, that, well, what happened?
Yeah. You know, and I've done my fair amount of research because any parent would do what it takes to save their kid, and I tried to do my best to do what it took. And I did my fair amount of research, and you know, and it's the same thing. I just get very frustrated with people that will look down upon people who want, like me, or you even, that want, whether it's legalization or lenient or alleviation of the regulations that surround medical marijuana, because we just want to get high. I don't want to get high. I'm in recovery. I don't do drugs. I don't even drink. You know, I don't even smoke cigarettes. And back in the 1930s and 40s, like prohibition, you know, alcohol was made illegal, and now it still kills more people than marijuana ever will and ever has, and it's still illegal, and it's up there with LSD and heroin. And it's not it's more probably psychologically addictive than anything. It's not physically addictive. And I just get very frustrated about, like, yeah, I can pump my daughter, my 1-year-old, full of addictive medication, but I can't give her marijuana. It just blows me away.
Did you notice, were there any developmental delays in your daughter because of the medication she was trying and she was on at the time?
Well,
or was it difficult to tell because she was so young?
Yeah, I think it was. I think for me, my wife will tell you something different, but I think as far as I'm concerned, she was 1 year old. And if you talk to a pediatrician, our pediatrician will say, like for her teeth, for example, they come in anywhere from 8 months old to 18 months old. So the range of development is different, I think, per kid. Just like some kids will walk at 9 months old or 15 months old or 18 months old. There was a kid in my daughter's daycare and now my son's daycare that walked at 18 months old. So, developmentally, it's tough to tell. I know that when it was time to take her meds, she was feeling something, and when we gave her meds, she calmed down. So whether it was a withdrawal symptom, like that irritability that some people have from taking chronic pain medication or chronic medication in general, and narcotics. But I did see her. When she did stand up and walk with an assisted toy, like one of those like stroller, like a cart or a walking toy, she was very wobbly on her feet. Like I definitely did notice that. I definitely did notice that. And we had therapists come by and assess her as far as development goes for her age, and they said that she's pretty much on par. She's on the curve. You know what I mean? She's not less or more, or she's not less than any other 1 year old at that point was. So only time would tell. Like they would have to come back in like 6 months or 3 months and reassess her.
Right.
So, but I don't think so. No, I don't. Okay. I would have to say no.
Well, that's good. But the problem, of course, was that the traditional anticonvulsants, although they were not contributing to a developmental delay in your child, were not controlling the seizures either.
Right.
So that was the real problem, and so she just had. It was apparently an unrelenting seizure, a status epilepticus, that drove her to the emergency room the last time.
Oh yeah, it's brought her there countless times. Not countless times. I can count them actually, and. But the last one, yeah, it was pretty scary, and I remember it, every day, some days, like I go through those moments countless times, and yeah, it was, November 26th, I woke up in the morning, and I looked in the monitor, she was just laying there peaceful, and I went to go take a shower, and as I came out of the shower, I'm gonna go put her in her high chair and get food ready for her, get her bottle ready, and she had her head turned to the right, she had vomited, and she was kind of blue, and her lips were blue. She was pale, and as soon as I grabbed her out of the crib, you know, I put her on her side, and she started to seize. And I had Paul called 911, and I administered Diastat, which we've never done before, and nasal Versed. I was spraying nasal Versed as much as I could, and it just wouldn't work. And she still continued to seize. And when the paramedics got there, they did a blood sugar test, and her blood sugar was, it said less than 20 on the thing. So her blood sugar was super low, which tells me that she was probably seizing, before we woke up. And we went to the hospital. We went to the St. Barnabas Hospital in Livingston, and test after test after test revealed things, and as the days progressed, like the outlook became more and more grim. And I have a medical background, so I understand what they were talking about. It's not like I'm not dumb. You know, I have a medical background. I can understand what they were talking about in medical terminology, and I knew probably 3 days before that, she probably wasn't going to leave. And I still couldn't wrap my head around it, but I knew, And so yeah, she seized once we got her into the ER, they intubated her, and they started running IVs on her, keeping Tylenol on her because she was overheating, and they finally they kept her on all her medications, but the final thing that stopped her from seizing was a drip of Diprivan, which is, the Michael Jackson killer. It's propofol, and it's a paralytic agent, and they had her on a drip to put her into a coma, a sedate, in a medically induced coma, to stop everything. And finally, she stopped clinically seizing, which is the outward body seizing, probably 10 hours. I have no idea. I can't really remember the time, but I know once they hooked her up to the EEG, once I saw the monitor, her brain activity stopped probably 24 hours after. So it was 6 o'clock the next day. So her brain and her body, but mostly her brain, had a lot of damage done to it. And since all that damage happened, it was, the brain swelled, cut off blood supply, and that's the end of the line.
Yeah, I've actually witnessed a person die from unrelenting seizures when I worked at a psychiatric hospital many years ago. So yeah, it's a terrifying thing to have to see, to be around, to watch, to witness, to live with as you have. Just my little glimpse of it was bad enough. But I often wondered what was what caused the death, and apparently it is. You're telling me it reduces the blood sugar significantly, and it overheats the body. It's just this metabolic kind of syndrome that goes on that actually is what results in a death. So I feel so bad for you. It's just hearing the story, Phil.
Thanks.
Did you ever get the medical marijuana card? You went through all the hoops?
No. We actually, the day that, I think it was November 29th, that a friend of ours was supposed to pick up. So we went to go see this pediatrician in Patterson, and he's a great guy, but I don't think he understood the gravity of what medical marijuana patients need. He didn't understand the gravity of Sabina's situation, and neither did we actually. So for that matter, and we submitted paperwork to him, and we paid. He saw us almost for free, which was crazy, and we gave him, I forget how much it was, like $175, and that was for the application fee to the state. But he required more paperwork, and we didn't know that until we were like, well, where's the paperwork at? Where are we at in this process? And he said, well, we need more paperwork. And we're like, okay. So we went to apparently he needed the entire chart from the pediatrician and the entire chart from the neurologist. And then all the other paperwork, like the consent from the pediatrician, the consent from the neurologist, the consent from the psychiatrist.
He was the pediatrician, wasn't he?
Well, see, the pediatrician has to be a registered a registered doctor on the medical marijuana program in New Jersey. So we could have seen our pediatrician if she was registered with the state on that level. See, he was registered on the state with that level. So once he would have to submit to the Department of Health all our information, and then, and sometimes it's been 4 or 6 months that I've heard that people are just getting their cards back. So meanwhile, like they're still on these medications that are hurting them. And the one thing is that since it's like a study about the effects of marijuana on infants, and if it can and does work, then we would have to see him as our pediatrician along with our regular pediatrician. So we'd have to drive there X amount of times a month or X amount of times a year or whatever to go see him, and then in 2 years we'd have to re-sign, reapply, and then the caregiver, either me or my wife, would have to reapply and get fingerprinted, and get charged money, so we never actually did. And nothing ever got submitted. So she never. I mean, if I knew then what I know now, I mean, it's kind of messed up. But I would totally. But I totally would have went black market, and did what I could with what I got, So.
Other parents. That's a shame. I mean, you saw at least 4 doctors
Yeah.
talking about, and still could not get. What you need to help your daughter. Some parents have fled the state. Brian Wilson and Megan Wilson with their daughter Vivian, who has Dravet syndrome. They were actually very instrumental in getting the law passed to make access to minors theoretically available in New Jersey. But when they found out that it was going to take so long for the state to get its act together and to make oils and tinctures available to the minors, they just fled. They became medical marijuana refugees and went to Colorado. That's not possible for every family to do, and it's a very difficult situation. But people's lives depend on access to this medicine, and the state just acts like it has all the time in the world to produce this, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
People are dying.
Yep, and we spoke with not a couple times, but my wife and I spoke with Governor Christie's, I think Department of Health chair or somebody, and a couple people like his chief of staff, some woman, I forget their names, and they told us that Chris Christie just told us to listen to you guys, and we were like, okay. So we said, and again, I'm a pretty smart individual, and I understand that it takes a lot of material to make oils, and it takes a lot of material to make candies and lozenges and all these other things that kids can eat, and sometimes even geriatric patients can ingest, because geriatric can't smoke, and if it costs so much to even grow the plant and then to break it down, and it takes so much product that they can make so much more money selling flour versus selling an oil or shatter or wax or whatever, it doesn't, as far as from a business perspective, they told us that the treatment centers they're privately owned companies. Sure. So it doesn't make sense for them to make money that way. They would lose money. So state companies they're not all state regulated. So that's the problem. I mean, now patients and caregivers have to go to these places, pay exorbitant amounts of money to get their medicine, and then break down everything they have to an oil that their kid or their whatever can ingest. And it's costing them, $2,000 sometimes a month, most likely. Maybe sometimes even a little more, because you need multiple strains. Because it's just like traditional pharmaceuticals, you need to have a specific cocktail, because it's not an exact science. It's like cooking.
So tell us about the Love Nugget Foundation.
So the Love Nugget Foundation was created by my wife and I and a friend of ours on December 8th, and that was 3 days after her funeral. So her funeral was December 5th. So we created it in the efforts to to alleviate some things that we encountered, like the prices of medical supplies as far as medicines or cooling vests or special wheelchairs or special beds even and seizure alert pads, and we're in the process. We're still very new, we're less than a year old, and so we have a board of directors that we make decisions on, and we are slowly trying to progress into. We're still in the growing phase, and we're still going to probably be in the growing phase for a very long time. But once we start getting grants and stuff, but right now we're in the fundraising process for operations, and when there's families in New Jersey that need help, me and my wife will put some money together and get some money together as far as the foundation goes, and put some money on a gift card and have them and bring somebody over and send somebody over to clean their house, because when they're in and out of the hospital, there's all that stuff is not important anymore. Like food shopping or buying food, like the necessities and the essentials. So yeah, I mean that's what the Love Nugget does. We try to just spread awareness and education, and just try to help wherever we can to people that are in where we were, that are in that same spot where we were. So that's just what we try to do.
And you're a nonprofit corporation?
Yes. We just actually got our letter yesterday with our tax-exempt status, and so
you're
yeah,
501c3?
You're 501c certified and
Excellent.
everything like that from the IRS, and so yeah, we're good to go as a corporate, as an entity goes.
Donations to the Love Nugget are income tax deductible.
That's true, and you can go to the website at lovenuggetfoundation.org, and you can donate and read the story and read all the articles and the press conferences that we've done, and that's about it. Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.
For more information about the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey, join us at our free public meetings on the second Tuesday of every month at the Lawrence Township Library in Mercer County, New Jersey, from 7 to 9 p.m. Snacks are served and all are welcome. Remember, every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Cada 42 segundos, está uno arrestado por marihuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody is arrested for... Chaque 42 secondes, il y a arrêté un monde pour marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana. It could be you.